Today, January 27th, is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. The United Nations General Assembly designated January 27th, the anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau, as International Holocaust Remembrance Day, a time to remember the 6 million Jewish victims of the Holocaust and the millions of other victims of Nazi persecution. To acknowledge this day as International Holocaust Remembrance Day, you can remember Holocaust victims by reading their names, light candles, and just learning about the Holocaust in general. What was the Holocaust? The Holocaust was the systematic murder of Europe's Jews by the Nazis and their collaborators during the Second World War. This program of targeted mass murder was a central part of the Nazis' broader plans to create a new world order based on their ideology. So let's look at significant things from 1919 to 1927, so World War I and its aftermath. Adolf Hitler issues his first written comment on the Jewish question, in which he defines Jews as a race and not members of a religion. He states that Jews are race tuberculosis of the peoples and the goal is to remove them altogether. So looking away from Europe for a second, we can look at manufacturing mogul Henry Ford. Henry Ford publishes a series of anti-Semitic articles in the Dearborn Independent based on a 1903 anti-Semitic publication from Russian written to deceive people about a Jewish conspiracy to dominate the world. So now going back to Europe in 1927. The Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Anthropology, Human Genetics, and Eugenics is founded by Professor Eugene Fischer in Berlin. The institute stood at the forefront of promoting racial hygiene and in facilitating pseudo-scientific experiments on humans during the Nazi era. 1933, Adolf Hitler rises to power and discriminatory laws are enacted. The Reichstag in Berlin is set on fire and the Nazis claim a communist revolution is imminent. Outside the town of Dachau, Germany, the SS established the first concentration camp. The Nazis organized a nationwide one-day boycott of Jewish-owned businesses in Germany. Jews and political opponents are banned from the civil service. Aryans who consult Jewish doctors can no longer have their medical bills paid. On the eve of Hitler's rise to power in 1933, 503,000 Jews live in Germany. 160,564 is the Jewish population of Berlin. 1%. Jewish nationals comprise less than 1% of the total German population of 65 million. 60%. The rate of intermarriage had reached 60% by 1932. So still in 1933. Germany further targets Jewish-owned assets and citizenship. Hermann Göring, Minister-President and Minister of the Interior of Germany's largest state, Prussia, creates a new agency, the Gestapo, secret state police. The German government enacts the denationalization law, allowing it to take away the citizenship of anyone who settled in Germany after November 9, 1918. Books written by Jews, homosexuals, political opponents, and liberal intellects are burned. The German chambers of literature, press, broadcasting, theater, film, music, and fine arts denies memberships to Jews, excluding them from employment in the cultural sector. 1934. The media amplifies Nazi propaganda and Hitler consolidates power. The German government bans Jews from membership in the German Labor Front, effectively depriving them the opportunities to find positions in the private sector and denies to those already employed the benefits available to non-Jews. The Nazi newspaper Der Strömer releases a special edition, printing and selling 130,000 copies devoted to blood libel accusations against the Jews, including infamous medieval cartoons showing Jews using human blood and the observance of ritual religious customs. 1935. The Nuremberg Laws are adopted, formalizing the Jewish loss of citizenship and other rights. At the Nazi Party rally in Nuremberg, Germany adopts two laws, the Reich Citizenship Law and the Law for the Protection of German Blood and Honor, Nuremberg Laws, which officially disenfranchises and classifies Jews as non-citizens. The first supplementary decree to the Nuremberg Laws is issued, defining a Jew as anyone with two Jewish grandparents who is married to a Jew or an adherent of Judaism, or anyone with at least 3 Jewish grandparents. Persons of mixed blood are characterized as Mischling. 1936 through 1937. Key Nazi leaders are in place. Additional concentration camps are built. Hitler consolidates all German police agencies under the SS and appoints Heinrich Himmler as chief of the German police and Reich leader of the SS. The Summer Olympic Games open in Berlin. The Olympic Games are a Nazi propaganda success. German officials remove anti-Jewish signs from public display and restrain anti-Jewish activities. The U.S. Olympic Committee bars 2 Jewish runners from competing. Hitler refuses to present African-American sprinter Jesse Owen his 4 gold medals. Anti-Jewish riots inspired by local Nazis break out in the free city of Danzig. Half of the city's Jews leave within 1 year. A Nazi anti-Semitic propaganda film, The Internal Jew, begins playing throughout Germany and occupied Europe. Jews are compared to rats, carriers of disease and corruptors of the world. 1938, Hitler annexes Austria, Anschluss. German and Austrian Jews are required to register their property. German troops invade Austria and incorporate Austria into the German Reich, the Anschluss. The decree regarding registration of Jewish property requires all Jews in Germany and Austria to register all assets in excess of 5,000 Reichsmarks. SS authorities open the Flossenburg concentration camp in northern Bavaria, Germany. Hungary adopts comprehensive anti-Jewish laws and measures, excluding Jews from many professions. 1938. Violence against Jews escalate while escape routes close. Munich's main synagogue is demolished on Adolf Hitler's express orders. The Reich Minister of the Interior decrees that all Jewish men residing in Germany must adopt the middle name Israel. Jewish women are required to take the middle name Sarah. Adolf Eichmann, working in the Nazi Security Service, SD, and a self-styled expert on Jews, opens the Central Office for Jewish Immigration in Vienna. All license for Jewish doctors are revoked, except those treating Jewish patients are allowed to continue. All German passports held by Jews are invalidated by the Reich Ministry of the Interior. Jews must surrender their old passports. At the instance of Switzerland, these passports are to be marked with a J. Nearly 17,000 stateless Jews, mostly from Poland, are expelled from Germany to Poland. Still in 1938, Kristallnacht, the Night of Broken Glass. Kristallnacht, the Night of Broken Glass, riots occur in Germany and Austria. 91 Jews are killed. More than 10% of Germany's remaining Jews are arrested and sent to concentration camps. The Nazis set fire to 191 synagogues and break into and loot thousands of homes and shops. Germany enacts a law to eliminate Jews from participation in economic life, forbidding Jews from selling goods or services, holding a trade, or hosting any cultural events. 1938 still. Property confiscations escalate. Jews are further excluded from public life. German authorities ban Jewish children from German public schools. Italy announces new racial laws defining who is a Jew, barring intermarriage between Italians and Jews, and limiting Jewish economic activity. German authorities force Jews to sell property, business, and stocks to non-Jews, usually at prices far below market value. December 1938, August 1939, the United Kingdom admits between 9,000 and 10,000 primarily Jewish children as refugees from the Greater German Reich. Through the Kinder transport, British authorities agreed to permit children under the age of 17 to enter Great Britain from Germany, Austria, and the annexed Czech territories. 1939. Hitler threatens to exterminate the Jewish people. Jewish refugees are turned away. Jewish businesses are forced to close under the law excluding Jews from commercial enterprises. The German government prohibits Jews from working as nurses, veterinarians, holistic practitioners, dentists, and pharmacists. More than 900 German Jewish refugees arrive at Cuba aboard the German passenger ship SS St. Louis and are refused entry on the grounds that their entry permits are invalid. The U.S. also refuses entry, and the refugees return to Europe, where they are admitted to England, Belgium, Holland, and France. 1939, the start of World War II. Germany invades Poland and Western Europe. Deportations begin. The Nazis order Jews in Poland into ghettos. Adolf Hitler orders the first Nazi program of murder, a euthanasia program known as T4. German physicians are empowered to determine which mentally and physically ill persons are to be killed. Ultimately, some 70,000 Germans are euthanized between September 1939 and late summer 1941. Curfews restricting Jewish individuals from going out in public after 9 p.m. in summer and 8 p.m. in winter are imposed. Great Britain and France declare war on Germany. The British government cancels all visas that had previously been issued to German Jews. In Nazi-occupied Poland, Jews living in the countryside are ordered into ghettos in the major cities. The first deportations to occupied Poland from Austria and the former Czechoslovakia begin. German authorities announced that all Jews residing in German-occupied Poland over the age of 10 wear a Star of David. Shortly thereafter, it is expanded to all Polish Jews. 1940. The Warsaw Ghetto and the Auschwitz concentration camp are created. At a Berlin conference, the Nazis decide to expel 30,000 Roma from Germany to Poland alongside with Jews and Poles. The Nazis create the Lodz Ghetto. Deportations begin on February 12, 1940, with the Jews of Stettin incarcerated in Lodz. Germany invades the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, and France. By June 22, Germany occupies all of these regions for except southern France, Vichy. SS authorities established the Auschwitz concentration camp, Auschwitz I, outside the Polish city of Oswiecim, located in German-annexed Upper Silesia. Italy enters the war as an ally of Germany. All foreign Jews in Italy are imprisoned in camps. Auschwitz receives its first prisoners, some 700 Poles. 1940, the Warsaw Ghetto is established. It is the largest ghetto in both area and population, confining more than 350,000 Jews in an area of about 1.3 square miles. Registration of Jewish property and businesses begins in occupied France, and registration of Jewish businesses begins in the occupied Netherlands. 1941, the first public mention of the final solution and the start of the Einsatzgruppen mass slaughter of Jews in the USSR. Dutch Jews are required to register themselves. Hitler repeats his 1939 statement that he will annihilate the Jews of Europe. Dutch citizens strike in protest against the deportation of Jews from the Netherlands. German authorities pronounce establish and seal a ghetto in Krakow, Poland. In Croatia, Jews are arrested, interned, and murdered. Jews in Romania are drafted for forced labor. In occupied France, German authorities open the internment camp, PTVA, to incarcerate both French Jews and foreign Jews residing in France. The German authorities intern Jews in PTVA and other detention camps before transferring them to Drancy, from where the SS later deports them to Auschwitz and Sobibor. 1940, all Jewish immigration is halted. Jews are forced to wear a yellow Star of David. All Jews living in German-occupied territories are prohibited from fleeing because the Nazis have decided that a final solution, meaning the extermination of all Jews, is coming very soon. This is the first public mention of a final solution. The U.S. State Department issues a ruling barring immigration by all persons with close relatives in Nazi-occupied Europe. All Jewish immigration is stopped. Jews over the age of 6 in the Greater German Reich must wear a yellow Star of David on their outer clothing at all times when in public. 1941, the U.S. enters World War II. The United States, along with Great Britain, Australia, and New Zealand, declares war on Japan. With its entry into the war, the U.S. cancels visas previously issued to German Jews. Killing operations begin at the Chelmno, or Kulmhof Killing Center, located about 30 miles northwest of Lodz. The killing center operates from December 1941 until March 1943, and then briefly in June and early July 1944. Germany declares war on the U.S. hours later. The U.S. declares war on Germany and Italy. The Nazis finalize and announce their plans to exterminate the Jews of Europe, first mass gassing of Jews at Auschwitz. 1942. The Nazis began deportations of Western European Jews to killing centers in the East. Those not deported are stripped of their rights and forced to wear a yellow star. Nazi officials, including SS General Reinhard Heydrich, as well as Adolf Eichmann, hold a conference at Wannsee, a suburb of Berlin, at which they discuss the intended murder of Europe's 11 million Jews. The first deportation of Western European Jews began from the ghettos in Lublin and Limburg to the Belzec Killing Center. Jews are banned from the use of public transportation. Jews of Netherlands, Belgium, and France are required to wear the yellow star. The first mass gassing of Jews starts at Auschwitz. Construction of the extermination camp near the village of Sobibor begins. Experimental killings of about 250 Jews takes place in the middle of April. Nazi authorities opened a second camp at Auschwitz called Auschwitz-Birkenau, or Auschwitz II. Though it serves as a concentration camp, it also functions as a killing center from March 1942 until November 1944. 1942. The Nazis ordered all Jews and Roma unfit for slave labor to be exterminated. During a visit to Auschwitz, Himmler ordered Jews and Roma unfit for work to be exterminated, and further orders the Birkenau camp to be expanded. Heinrich Himmler, noting that a total cleansing is necessary, sends a secret directive to the head of general government ordering the resettlement, a euphemism for deportation and murder, of the entire Jewish population of the general government, be carried out and completed by December 31st. 20,000 people attend a rally at New York's Madison Square Garden to protest Nazi atrocities. For the first time, President Roosevelt in his message to the attendees make a specific mention of atrocities against Jews and declares that the American people will hold the perpetrators of these crimes to strict accountability and a day of reckoning which will surely come. 1942. Jews are deported from the Warsaw Ghetto and elsewhere to the killing centers and concentration camps. The Germans began deporting the Jews of Warsaw for resettlement in the east. In a few months, 265,000 are sent by train from the Warsaw Ghetto for extermination in the gas chambers at Treblinka. The first deportation of Belgian Jews began to Auschwitz. Jews in unoccupied France are rounded up en masse. Asocial elements, Jews, Roma, Russians, and others, are to be transferred from the penal system to the SS for extermination through labor, per agreement between Himmler and the Reich Minister of Justice. With the assistance of collaborationist Norwegian officials, the Germans began rounding up male Jews in Norway. The Germans eventually deport approximately 770 Norwegian Jews to killing centers and concentration camps. 1943. Jews wage armed revolt against the Nazis in the Warsaw Ghetto and in concentration camps. Mass deportations to and killings in the death and concentration camps continue, including Roma as well as the Jews of Bulgaria, Greece, and Italy. The Nazis seek to liquidate the Warsaw Ghetto and are met with armed resistance. About 5,000 Jews are deported. In Greece, German authorities order Greek Jews in Salonika to move into a ghetto, wear the yellow star, and adhere to a curfew. Bulgarian occupation authorities deport 11,343 Jews from Bulgarian-occupied countries to German custody. However, Bulgaria refuses to deport Bulgarian Jews. On the day of the Warsaw Ghetto uprising, the Allies convene an international conference to Bermuda to study the refugee question. No government expenses a willingness to accept Jewish victims of Nazism. Palestine is excluded from consideration. Several hundred Jewish partisans revolt at Treblinka. Some 200 escape, but many are recaptured and killed. In September, the camp is dismantled and all traces of its existence are removed. In his talk to SS leaders, Himmler speaks openly about the extermination of the Jews, calling it a page of glory in our history that has never been written and is never to be written. Deportation of Jews from Italy commenced. In all, more than 8,500 Italian Jews are sent to Auschwitz. In October, the Nazis began to dismantle the Treblinka camp and in November complete the process, plowing the camp into the ground and planting trees to remove all traces of the killing facility. 1944. The Nazi siege of Leningrad ends. German troops occupy Hungary and mass deportation of Hungarian Jews begin. German troops occupy Hungary and anti-Jewish laws are promptly implemented. German authorities begin to evacuate Lublin, Majdanek, and deport the remaining inmates to Auschwitz, Natzenweiler, Struthof, Ravensbrück, Plazau, and Gross-Rosen. Hungarian authorities require all Jews to wear the yellow star. Hungarian officials under the direct of the German SS deport around 440,000 Jews from Hungary. Most are deported to Auschwitz, where the majority of those is murdered in gas chambers. 1944. Allied forces land in Normandy and advance toward Germany. Nazi deportation of Jews and Roma to the killing centers and concentration camps continue. The SS resumes deportations from the Lodz Ghetto to the Kalmo killing center. German units liquidate the Lodz Ghetto and deport more than 60,000 Jews and undetermined number of Roma to Auschwitz-Birkenau. Allied forces land in the south of France. 2 days later, they liberate the Drancy transit camp. At Auschwitz-Birkenau, the Sonderkommando, special detachment of Jewish prisoners deployed to remove corpses from the gas chambers and burn them, blows up Crematorium 4 and kills the guards. About 250 participants of the revolt die in battle with the SS and police units. The SS and police unit shoots 200 more Sonderkommando members after the battle ends. 1944. Forced evacuations of Jews. Death marches. With railway lines severed, Eichmann orders the evacuation of Jews from Budapest, marching them on foot towards the interior of the German Reich. These forced evacuations come to be called death marches. U.S. troops liberate the Natzweiler Trutzow concentration camp. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. At Heinrich Himmler's order, the gas chambers and crematoria at Auschwitz-Birkenau are demolished. At Hartheim, German authorities carried out the last gassing of inmates under SS guard Mauthausen. Prisoners dismantled the killing facility. The Battle of the Bulge, the last major German offense of the war, begins in the Ardennes forest. 1945. Soviet troops liberate Auschwitz. U.S. and British troops later liberate other camps. Soviet troops liberate the Auschwitz, Grossrosen, and Ravensbrück concentration camps. U.S. troops liberate the Buchenwald, Mittelbau-Dora, Bergen-Belsen, Dachau, Mauthausen, and Gusen concentration camps. Hitler commits suicide in his bunker in Berlin. The partisan resistance movement under communist leader Josip Tito liberates the Jasenovac concentration camp in Croatia. British forces liberate the Neuengamme concentration camp. 1945. World War II ends. The post-war Nuremberg trials of Nazis began. Anti-Jewish riots occur in Poland. German armed forces surrender unconditionally in the West on May 7th and in the East on May 9th. Allied forces proclaim May 8, 1945 to be Victory in Europe Day, VE Day. Soviet forces enter and liberate the Camp Ghetto, Theresienstadt, and Stutthof concentration camps. The first of several anti-Jewish riots began in Poland, Krakow. Other riots followed. Japan surrenders and World War II officially ends. So on this day, January 27th, just take a moment of silence for all of the victims and to all of the people who died during the Holocaust and World War II in general.